All right, Steelers fans, welcome into the Noll Road. Why would two different wide receivers snub the Steelers at the deadline? We have the details on why the Steelers will beat the Chargers here in Week 10, injury updates, and all the major headlines. Here we go.
Van to the corner of the end zone. Oh, it's for a touchdown!
Buddy, welcome in. I'm Gavin Dawson along with Newbear. How you doing on this Week 10 Sunday, brother?
I am trying to reconcile this YouTube TV not having ESPN thing.
Ooh.
And how many more apps I would have to buy. I might go get Rabbit Ears, finally give in just to get, the locals. And I'm mystified by the fact that these millions upon millions into billions of dollars can't figure out how to share.
It's terrible. It sucks that the American consumer is the victim here. This story has been trending and getting incrementally worse every year for about the last 10 or 15 years. I guess the only advice I would have is most new TVs have an internal digital tuner where maybe you don't need rabbit ears. So maybe Google around on that. And then, the unfortunate reality for these cable providers is this is driving people as we get older and more technologically savvy to pursue pirating avenues as well. And I think that's really the downside. So I would encourage all the teams and leagues and TV networks to get their shit together before everybody ends up pirating it. Okay, let's start with the trade denials, I suppose.
Yeah.
Chris Halleck, our friend from DK Pittsburgh, reported the Steelers offered the same deal to New Orleans that the Seahawks did for Rashid, Shaheed, and he chose Seattle. And then with Jakobi Meyers, same offer. He chose Jacksonville. What'd you make of this, buddy?
Better opportunity to go get paid for both of these guys, where you come to Pittsburgh, maybe you do win. Maybe you are the missing ingredient. Maybe you do help them get over the hump, but your numbers ain't going to show it, right? Whereas if you go into these other systems, Rashid's going to be the speed guy next to maybe the best receiver in the league that nobody's talking about, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And with the combination of drops and injuries, Jakobi thinks he's going to go down to Jacksonville and help them go to the next level. And then, oh, by the way, get paid.
I guess, it's a surprise to choose those organizations in some ways, but maybe we overestimate the importance and the history and their tradition. And really what it comes down to is maximizing your opportunity to get as much money as possible. I think, having a younger quarterback next year with Pittsburgh, not only would your opportunity maybe not be as big this year before you hit free agency, but then if you do end up locking in, is that going to effectively be the end of your career highs for production? So maybe Aaron Rodgers plays a role into it. I also think guys just want to get closer to home. And if you're from the South or from the West and you have an opportunity to get within a 45-minute plane trip of home or an hour and a half of home, in Shaheed's case, is he grew up in the San Diego area, has family in Arizona as well. Seattle puts you close to that. The culture, the climate might be, a factor as well. But, we also have to think about maybe how aggressive the Steelers could have been increasing the compensation or offering a contract before the trade is even consummated to make sure the player and agent are interested. Would you have done those things if you're Con and Tomlin?
Well, it sounds like we just cooked up a neat little recipe for why this thing happened, because it isn't just any one of those things. It's all of them at the same time. Some of these are very specific too, right? Like, if you're Kyle Duggar and you're in New England, you end up in Pittsburgh, there's an opportunity to play, there's an opportunity to get paid. There were also, no one wanted to pay you, or unless the Patriots were going to take that off their books. So you had to find all of the perfect storm type of things. And this is fascinating, the whole NFL trade deadline Mad Mode stuff, where, people want to say, okay, well, this big trade didn't happen, so you guys are out of your minds. You're playing fantasy football, with people's lives or whatever. But I don't know if we've seen this level of movement, this volume of movement with both star players and core depth pieces year over year, it's only getting more and more. Like, the assumption is if there is a deal to be made, the deal is going to get made. And then when you go through the day, you find out that multiple teams offer the exact same thing, and these guys are now choosing where they want to go play. It's kind of cool.
It is cool, and it's neat. I wonder if in this era they did enough. You look at the chart of NFL trades, it's basically a flat line for 3 decades, and then over the last 10 years, it's jumping, and this one was by far the most. Could have been a lot more, but I think it shows that teams are wanting to get an absolute premium for their players, but more than ever, teams are seeing that if we have an opportunity, we have to address our weaknesses in a way.
Team is a really interesting word too, because did you see that Mike Vrabel wanted to go get some more of his old guys in Tennessee? And the Tennessee owner was like, I refuse to do any deals with Mike Vrabel because he did not leave town on great terms. Yeah. So, everyone has bitch, moaned, and complained about player control, right? And salary cap this and contract negotiation that, CBA, changing terms and fifth-year options for first-round picks and all the different things. What was also part of this is a human element. So, What's not talked about, I think, enough are the relationships between these guys at the top and how these deals ultimately get done. And I bring that up to say also that, like, I think some teams are willing to do a player a solid and send him closer to where he grew up. Like, you talk about Shaheed, San Diego, he was born in Phoenix, all the different elements that go into him wanting to be on the West Coast. And a team might look at a situation where a late round pick swap isn't that big of a deal, so they're willing to do right by the player, so that player and his agent going forward is willing to say, hey, if it does end up in a situation where it's a rebuild, we'll not just help you get out of town, we'll help you get to the right place.
Yeah, there's a lot of that massaging of relationships and potential future contingencies. The Steelers end up, adding Marquez Valdez-Scantling. There might be a game or two where he comes up with a big play that you're wondering, would any of our other guys have done this? But game in and game out, it's going to have a negligible impact on winning, I would say. What would be your expectations here of what Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to add?
I've made a couple of comments to this effect where I feel like on a game-to-game basis, historically with him, it's either like 2 catches for 111 and a 70-yard touchdown, or it's 2 drops that would have changed the game where he wasn't able to make the play. He's going to get open and he's going to get loose deep. And it's going to be moments where you're kind of holding your breath saying, does he still have it? And does he come down with this one? Because when he does, this is a guy who's led the league in yards per catch, whose career average is over 17 per, and who's been over 20 twice. And with Aaron Rodgers was never under like 16 and a half. And the problem is his biggest year is like 40 catches. His biggest year isn't even 700 yards. So the week-to-week variance of, height, weight, speed, and then, it's a football. Look, I'm going to catch it, because his career catch rate's like 50%. It's literally flip a coin with this guy sometimes.
Yeah, and that's not a way to build it, but Aaron Rodgers is excited. So, hopefully there are some things they can do that will, bring out some stuff in the player that maybe we hadn't seen often recently. All right.
What I love the most about it is his size and willingness, to block means that you have a much better athlete. You don't have to play Skoronic all the time. You can get a legitimate, viable wide receiver 2 threat. His size and his speed should, even in simple 2-man route combinations, create at least questions for the defense. Right now, they're saying, we take away DK, I dare you to beat us, Calvin Austin. I dare you to beat us, Roman Wilson. I dare you to beat us, Ben Skowronek, or Jonnu Smith out there with him. Like, MVS, for all his wants and warts, is a legit threat.
All right, we're coming up on 10 minutes into this Sunday show here on the Noll Road. If you're liking the video, please like the video. It's the number one thing you can do to give back for us. We give you free content 4 or 5 times a week. Okay, Steelers-Chargers preview. Steelers trying to beat a playoff opponent on the road, stack up back-to-back wins against contenders. That's a true sign of a contender. You go on the road, beat a playoff team. You pair that with the win over the Colts, you would have the makings of really looking like a contender and recovering from that back-to-back backbreaker against Cincinnati and Green Bay. The playoff chances here would swing wildly, Newbear. You win, it goes to 77%. Lose, it falls to 44%. The Steelers are the team with the most to win or lose with a 33% week 10 spread on whether you win or lose with your playoff probabilities. Right now in the AFC, you have a big group of teams you are trying to emerge from. Obviously you have the Ravens, Bills, Chiefs that have been contenders and controlling the division for a half decade. Who's for real outside of that? Assuming the Ravens do rally here in the second half and get into the playoffs, they're going to be dangerous. You have the Steelers, but you also have the Colts, Broncos, Chargers, and Patriots. And I'm not sure about any of those teams right now. I think they need a great second half to sort of rubber stamp and prove that they do belong in that conversation at the top of the conference.
You're absolutely right. In as much as what personifies the conversation at the top is the fact that we're talking about Lamar being back with the Baltimore Ravens at 3-5 and those guys and how dangerous they are. I don't think America, Joe football fan doesn't really believe in most of the teams because they're going to give Patrick Mahomes the benefit of the doubt. They're going to give Lamar Jackson the benefit of the doubt. Josh Allen, they're sitting there at 6-2, the Buffalo Bills. Do you trust them more because it's Josh Allen and the only kryptonite that exists is Patrick Mahomes and the Zebras over Denver Broncos, who are not only winning ugly and having to have these, near historic comebacks in most cases to do so, but are doing it, in a defensive-led situation with a quarterback who's kind of, you talk about flip a coin from week to week with Bo Nix, and I'm a Bo Nix fan. At the same time, they're not really playing good teams. So you wonder what happens when they start getting punched in the mouth by capable punchers as opposed to just, the punch drunk guy coming in trying to get his paycheck off of Tyson getting out of prison is how some of these games feel like Peter McNeely. I don't believe in the Indianapolis Colts. I didn't believe in them coming to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh exposed them more than that being a flaw. The Sauce Gardner trade blew my mind. I love, the Patriots in as much as Vrabel being who he is and the system that they are running and clearly identifying, we could do this team by team. Do you believe in Jacksonville? I don't personally believe in the Chiefs, and not just because I want to see the fraud dynasty die, but because I just don't think they're a very good team, and they're not one of those teams that scares you the way they have in years past. I mean, it's really been a few years since they've basically been a team that knows how to win for a lot longer than you want to admit.
Yeah, and it's been incredible, like winning the Super Bowl in the, quote, rebuilding year, getting back there last year. Their offense has grown back into top 3 efficiency. Their defense isn't what it was. I look at the Chiefs as another team that could win it now, not a clear-cut favorite.
If they would have went and got Breece Hall, I would be like, how do you not bet the Chiefs? The thing is, just so many guys are in and out week to week, and it's like, okay, well, Mahomes will figure it out. And it's like, yeah, but at a certain point, you saw what happened last year in the Super Bowl. Like, eventually – that's also what I mean about some of these other teams is like when you run into the Eagles, well, guess what? There is no Eagles this year, right? There is no team like that. Maybe Detroit gets most of their guys healthy and maybe they stay lucky through the run that everyone thought they were going to go on last year. And now maybe they learn from that and able to use that as fuel into this postseason. But like even then, there's some weeks they go out there and they don't look like a team you can trust, consistently to win 3 games in a row or 4 games in a row, particularly if you have to go on the road.
Okay, so if you're jumping into this show at this point and the game's already been played, maybe skip forward about 8 minutes or so and we'll cover other Steelers weekend storylines, but this is specifically going to be game preview type stuff. I feel like the Steelers are going to win this game. I'm picking it 27-24, Newbear. A lot of it comes down to run game, and the Steelers have been much better after the first couple of weeks. It didn't look like they were going to be able to do either, but defensively, their run defense has been really good probably for the last month plus, and offensively, I just love what Jalen Warren and Kenny Gainwell are giving you. They figured it out, but the Chargers are giving up around 5 yards per carry. They struggle to tackle. they are giving up a ton of yards after contact. And, that has to be a goal for the Steelers. Establish the run, hit the play action, try to neutralize the Chargers pass rush that is pretty good. Okay. And their corners are good. Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still, and then St. Juiced. Like if you try to pass the ball 45 times and beat the Chargers, you are playing into their strength. And they do have Khalil Mack, and they have Tui Pelotu, Tart. They have 3 guys that can get after it. It's not a star-studded pass rush, but it's a deep one full of solid guys that can sort of get you by winning a matchup somewhere along that front. So I'm not terrified of the Chargers defensive personnel, but I think it's a game that really requires a great game plan and then execution in your run game. If you do that offensively, you should be set up to have a tremendous amount of success on Sunday night.
Yeah, this is interesting because you bring up the run game. You're talking about the Steelers being able to get it going, keep it going, mitigate pass rush, and also maybe wind this game down and shrink it a little bit, right?
Let's win time of possession for a change.
Yeah. Well, what I'm still staying on, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. I'm going to be absolutely fascinated to see what they trot out matchup-wise with the Chargers receiver room, because I don't know how you look at Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen, this Gadsden the second, the rookie who lives in the gym, and the injuries they've had in the running back room opening up even more of Justin Herbert's season. I mean, the Justin Herbert right now, Bo Nix has played one more game, and Flacco, I mean, we all know what's going on in Cincinnati, and they're almost willfully ignorant when it comes to the run game. Nobody's throwing the ball more than Justin Herbert when you really break it down. I mean, it's Dak Prescott's got like 3 or 4 more throws, Bo Nix, but he's played one more game, and Flacco you want to talk about Madden mode, right? So Jim Harbaugh offense, Greg Roman offenses want to run the ball, and they want to be way more balanced than the Chargers have been. And the Chargers' injuries to their offensive line and the running back room, that's not the only reason that they're not running the ball. It's because of the success they're having with Justin Herbert and these guys out wide. And Quentin Johnston actually finally learning how to catch this offseason as, this guy's a bust. There's no way he gets a second contract from us. He's actually been undeniable in weeks and uncoverable and, winning fantasy leagues, but also winning real games on Sunday. Keenan Allen, ageless wonder. Every time I look at my shirt and the collar pops up, all I see are his collarbones. You know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen that picture, Google it. The Lad McConkey is just one of those dudes where you go, how does a guy who looks like him, it's like Hunter Renfrow on HGH, right? And
yeah,
they're just a really nice group. And then here comes this young tight end that has a lot of juice. So Ramsey, assuming he's on the tight end like he was on Warren, and you're trying to wipe that dude off the page, who is JPJ running with? Who is Slay running with? And then, what are we doing with Eccles relative to if this, then that kind of stuff? So that's where it starts for me. And then I think piggybacking on what you said, is this a week where the Steelers can actually be stubborn? Is this a 25-touch Jaylen Warren special?
I certainly hope so. You win this game on the ground, and it's going to be tough to lose it. It would probably take a multiple turnover discrepancy. You did mention Herbert. The thing with a lot of his stats, they're elite, but I don't think the Chargers would want all of the eliteness that they are. Going with Vidal at running back, I watched the tape from last week's game. It was against Tennessee. It shows how bad he is. Like, this guy should not be on the field in actual NFL games. After the injuries to Harris and Hampton, they have to. And it's forcing a ton of third and long throws. And Herbert is no coward. He's stepping up and throwing beyond the chains. And he's hitting on a lot of those. But he also has 8 interceptions on the season. Justin Herbert does. It's barely over a 2-to-1 ratio. So their lack of balance is creating a lot of big plays in the passing game. But it's also creating opportunity. And check out this stat. The Chargers pass block win rate 29th in the NFL. They can't run block. They can't protect. Steelers have the 3rd best pass rush win rate. So when it goes to Chargers offense against the Steelers defense, you mentioned their wide receivers. Can you cover them? I would not like their chances of covering them for 3 seconds every snap. But can you get home and put Justin Herbert in that mixer where, he's having to scramble and shift and throw off platform and not have space and time? If you do those things, you could win this game by 2 touchdowns.
Well, you know what's crazy is we can't talk about Jalen Warren and the Pittsburgh Steelers being able to run and control the game if we don't talk about Justin Herbert running to break the game open. He's only scored 1 touchdown on the ground, but he's already set basically a career high in rushing through 9 weeks. He's on pace to almost double his single season carries number. And I mean, this was a guy coming out that I think people were really interested to see how much his legs were going to be part of his NFL routine. And one of the things that happened to him early is he had a number of injuries where he was really putting his body on the line and playing through stuff. And I think the way that he was kind of being coached and the way that they wanted to kind of protect him from himself a little bit was, hey, you save that for 3rd and 7 in the 4th quarter. You make sure we're healthy going into the second season. This year, he's been running for his life. He has iced games with long runs and the hook slides.
He's like a nerd Josh Allen.
He really is. And I was, it was pepperoni pizza face early, but it looks like he's cleaned some of that stuff up. And I'm not saying that to really even to make fun of him. I'm saying that to remind everyone how young some of these guys still are. When they take center stage, when they get under center and you're 21 years old, like you're still going through some stuff, right? And for him to mature into this place, I was not a Justin Herbert guy coming out of Oregon because that system, almost irregardless of who the coach was, meant you were going to be a bust on Sunday. And it seemed to me, whenever I stayed up and watched Pac-12 After Dark, somebody like some little pencil-leg dude like Jaden Daniels at Arizona State was throwing moon balls to someone like Brandon Ayuk, and he was blowing, meaning Herbert and the Ducks, a big-time game. And I just kind of wrote it off maybe a little bit lazily as that. I loved learning about Herbert, sitting on his roof, being able to see Autzen Stadium, and then being this like it's calling him a nerd is not, he would not take that as a negative. He's a very bright kid. He's surprisingly athletic for how tall and long he is. And he's one of those dudes who, as a young player, he lived, the rookies all, get a house together. He made his teammates take their shopping carts back and turn them in properly at Costco. Like he's a good dude, good kid coming up, and he's not a kid anymore, but he's still a young man taking this franchise by the reins, taking the league by storm, and they will. And when people forget too, he set a lot of records on his rise. When you look at, you talk about stats and then being elite, this franchise goes as far as Justin Herbert will take them.
Since you brought it up, I am a shopping cart truther as a former courtesy clerk, especially in a spot like LA or San Diego. That was one of the best parts of my day, going out to round up the carts. Got a little time outside. Maybe if you're in extreme weather, but that's neither here nor there. And in a spot like Costco, that's a long walk to get that back to the corral.
Oh my goodness, dude. Sam's Club, Costco, Walmart, some of these. I was Giant Eagle is the local regular grocery store by us in Pittsburgh, and they have fire truck shopping carts. So my son in particular wants to. Oh my goodness. And then it's like a battle royale to try to get them in the car versus, pushing those things all the way.
Okay, thank you. You have multiple kids. Am I supposed to load the kids up and then walk 80 yards away to return this cart while, human trafficking might be happening right next? I'm a paranoid dad just like anybody else. What am I supposed to do here? Take them all back to the barn with me, and then we're all going to walk back across the parking lot? I'm not sure where this movement has come from for everybody has to return their shopping cart. There's people who are paid to do this.
We make sure we watch Shark Week because we said we'll roll down the window and say, what do you do if someone tries to kidnap you? And my kids will yell back, punch him in the nose like a shark. So.
Nice. Okay, injuries for the Steelers. Sayamalu, which sets off the chain reaction. He is out.
First time they're playing a backup all year.
Very nice. So, and Spencer Anderson's played well, in the reps that he's been in there.
Well, not playing a backup, starting a backup. I missed.
Yeah. Cole Holcomb is still out with an illness for a second consecutive week. I hope everything's going okay with him. Have you heard anything about this? Malik Harrison's going to be in there. Was he got mono? What is this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was playing kissy face a little bit too much with the wife of the Wags, but all kidding aside, that have you ever had that? I thankfully skipped
Never.
that, but there was a time like when you're in the dorms and that stuff starts going around, like that's a tough one because I've seen guys get wrecked.
It'll take you out
weeks.
Yeah,
and then, you come back and it's like you. It's like you had what's the other one? Not chicken pox. But it's like there's some of these things that you get where it's like you have the flu for a month. It sucks.
Yeah, and you're a lot weaker. You lose weight,
pounds
of muscle. Yeah.
Yes.
Scotty Miller out with a broken finger. Jabril Peppers battling the quad still, should be back for the Bengals game next week. Okay, elsewhere here. Oh, you got something on that?
No, I just the Peppers thing is the one of the elements, one of those like extra options that we haven't been talking about because Duggar played so many plays and he played so well. Ramsey moves to free, completely ruins Tyler Warren's day. Like we have to remember that we're gonna get Peppers back here, and that's gonna be something we'll be excited to talk about for the Bengals game and maybe how they rewire the way they attack Chase and Higgins.
Todd Haley coming in hot. We did a couple of shows talking about Mike Tomlin and the coaching staff. Decent opportunity here to update how you're feeling about him. Todd says, this is one of the smartest guys I've ever been around, smartest intellectually, smartest football. He's phenomenal. All these Pittsburghers say we need a new coach. No, just get a quarterback that can play and continue to find good players. You're in good hands. He's really awesome. I was amazed by him every day. And I think there's a lot to like about Mike Tomlin. I've said as much in the past. There's a lot of great qualities about him as a head football coach. The only thing he really needs is coordinators that understand how much play design and play calling has changed since he became a head coach. But I don't know how you get there at this point. I don't. How do you convince Mike Tomlin that his football philosophy of rock fights is outdated and he needs to update things? He's the head coach, so this would take an incredibly strong and brilliant football background front office guy saying, hey, you need to update your operating system for what it takes to win in the NFL today. I just don't think that's realistic. It'd be much easier to go out and find a head coach that had worked for McVay or Andy Reid. And plug him in there and, really hit that fast forward button here into we're coming up on mid 21st century. He's still coaching like we're in the 90s.
The things that Haley was saying are true. Mike Tomlin's, he's a brilliant dude, super smart, intelligent, knows ball, and has probably forgotten more ball than most people will ever know. The problem is he knows that. The bigger problem is that he's generally and believes that he's the smartest dude in the room. And when you talk about coaching trees, there's a reason he doesn't have one. And when you talk about the way that they have not just been willfully ignorant beyond stubborn and not gotten with the times, but actually fallen behind them, like running a Matt Canada offense on Sunday and basically putting blinders on, Kenny Pickett or any other element that you want to talk about through Mitchell Trubisky and even Russ, because it was basically moonballs or punt, right? I mean, the thing that I keep coming back to with Artie Smith, and the reason that you keep calling me an Artie Smith stan, and anyone who watches wants to talk about how much I love Artie Smith, is just because of watching a game week to week and watching him scheme dudes open. Whether you like his scheme, whether you like the personnel groupings or not, he gets guys open. And he adjusts during games. And he also goes back to things that work, and sometimes that bites him in the ass, but that happens to pretty much everyone who calls plays. My main thing here going through the process is if Terrell Austin's the guy and people are out there talking about him parroting everything Mike Tomlin says, who's really calling the defense, et cetera, at all, watch the press conferences side by side. Watch the printouts of their quotes. He's literally just saying the same. They're all good soldiers. They all follow Mike Tomlin's lead. They all take his cues. And the difference is in the body language of the dudes. When you see the frustration of TJ Watt, Cam Hayward et al., they're all saying the same things, but the players know it's on them to make it right.
And I think messages get stale. That happens in locker rooms. It's not just fans and media that get frustrated by hearing the same thing, but you only have so many stories and things you can say, and I think people get fatigued by that. There's also value in the continuity of it. So maybe I don't have as big of a problem with it because I haven't been paying attention as closely. But I think when Mike Tomlin talks, I get the feeling that this is a guy who is great at leading men, great at the toughness and pursuing greatness angles of being a coach. But, I guess if I was going to swing the other way on it, I would point out that might be like the third or fourth most important thing to being great. It's more about finding the players, knowing the plays, and then being able to coach the precise techniques to install game plans that can take advantage of deception. And it is a higher level of coaching to scheme these things, to be paying attention constantly and scouting yourself, and then knowing the precise spots. Like, that might be the best thing about the Shanahan coaching tree that doesn't get mentioned enough. It's the offensive lineman techniques and the leverage and the exact spot and the hand placement and the footwork to create those gaps. Not just saying, hey, here's how our play looks on the X's and O's board, but actually having the boots on the ground coaches that can turn those light bulbs on for the players.
Yeah, I mean, the walkaway point, I think this week for any of it, with me and Tomlin and his tree or lack thereof, is that I'm not someone who's saying, oh, hey, your scheme didn't work this week, go run a different scheme. What I am saying is there are often problems with players running scheme and the things they're asked to do. And then there are problems with tells and the math inside of what you've done. And when you do that week over week, year over year, it's no longer Julian Edelman being funny on his podcast. It's not just one guy or one team or one division or, someone who got over on you in some big moments. It's everybody saying the same thing. So if you're going to parrot anything, it's that the data says they do what they do, and they expect their guys to go win one-on-one matchups.
Okay, and then another thing that we've been talking about recently, going back to last week. Matter of fact, let me just show this tweet here. I reacted to it on Steelers Twitter. We go to Alex Kazor from the Steelers Depot. I enjoy his content, but I guess I took offense to this, or it made me feel defensive. He said the critique of Pittsburgh being too reliant on takeaways is the worst and laziest one you can make. It's a feature, not a bug, of the Steelers' path to victory, and it doesn't come by accident. I replied, I don't think any team would team build with this in mind. Like, hey, let's not punish the other team at the line of scrimmage. Let's not cover everybody great. Let's not have linebackers who are always in the gap and are sure tacklers. Let's just get takeaways, man. Let's just rush the quarterback and then have DBs that might not be in position but have good hands. And let's, find guys that can peanut punch. That's added value that you get on top of being a player that's in position playing fundamentally well.
So it's funny that you bring up the peanut punch, excuse me, right? Because he's the one who gets the credit for that movement. And what a great player he was. And shout out to Charles Tillman and his foundation. My mom actually got to do some work with them back in Chicago, where she was a teacher for a long time and recently retired. Just a great guy. The thing that's really funny about the peanut punch thing is, there's a great clips of him talking about how he would intentionally take bad angles to be able to come up on dudes and Michael Meyers them. But when you look back at his career, he had 45 forced fumbles. 10 of them came in one season. He played 13 years. So I'm no genius, but let's just say you had 36 fumbles in those other 12 years. You're talking about 3 per annum. 10 of them came in 1 year. When they come in bunches, whether it's interceptions, forced fumbles, what have you, you can't count on. Nobody does it 10, 12, 14, 8. And then you go, well, shit, the Steelers do year after year. They lead the league in turnover margin. Part of that, what plays into that, is the way the offense has also been constructed and played against it. The jokes about punting on third down and, winning rock fights being part of the conversation. So when you are built a certain way, those things are going to come in bunches because it's a feature. It's not a bug. When they come, they're going to come. But when they don't, it's going to completely eviscerate. And from a week to week variance perspective, fumble luck, just like injury luck or anything else, it's not something that you can depend on to be the through line to the thing that just makes you better than anyone else. Because over 18 weeks, half or more of those, you might not get any.
Yeah. It's great when they come. And if you hadn't had them, you would be 2 games under right now instead of 2 games over. So I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I acknowledge that the Steelers are good at it, but I just don't think that what we've seen so far is evidence that they're going to go on a Super Bowl run because they can take the ball away so much. I mean, you could get in the playoffs and just not have any takeaways easily and be, in a fight for your life. So starting tonight, what we need to see from these Steelers is great run defense, good protection, married with a good good coverage, married with a good pass rush that can overwhelm defenses and give them the feeling that there's nowhere to go. And if I take a chance, it's going to get picked. So far, what we have, especially in New England and Indianapolis games, are getting run all over, the team having more yards, more efficiency, and you got bailed out by takeaways. I just don't think that's a path to victory.
Sorry, I just saw something super gnarly at the end of this. They're in Germany today, right?
Yeah. How'd it go?
Well, I'm pretty sure folks are going to be a little bit upset with giving up 2 1s for Sauce Gardner. Is that Sauce out there getting turned into?
It's 25-22 Colts right now with a minute 44 to go. Or I'm sorry, 25-22 Falcons right now with a minute 44 to go.
Sauce just
in the fourth quarter.
Just slipped in the end zone and gave up probably the game-winning touchdown.
Ouchie. All righty. Here we go, Steelers. All right. We're 4 times a week long form plus the curtain call shorts to celebrate the top plays from Steelers game day. For Newbear, I'm Dawson, and we'll see you next time here on the Noll Road.